Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This is Dan. I'm going to be your host, and I got to ask you a few questions before we really get into it. Are you going through the motions? Think about that for a moment in life. Or are you actually moving with meaning? I'm going to do my best in this podcast to deliver a high-octane episode of success and motivation from the no comfort zone. Today, I want to uncover how excitement fuels execution. That's the bottom line. Today's podcast is about excitement, and that's the second E in the formula. And why most people fail, it's not from lack of ability, but from lack of emotional connection to your goals. So we're going to talk about how to turn your goals into something that you're excited to chase, to realize, to actually go after, something that's going to drive you. Why excitement is the secret consistency and creativity. The difference between being busy and being bold. How to reignite your fire even when life gets a little difficult or you face some adversity. Listen, if your life has felt dull, disconnected, and directionless, I know I've been there. And if you're there now, it's time to get plugged back into your purpose and light your internal fire. It's really time to get out of your comfort zone. Let's go.
Welcome.
Attention, please.
Welcome aboard. Welcome to the No Comfort Zone podcast. It's time to get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose. Broadcasting to the world from Rockford, Illinois. This is your wake-up call.
Warning.
You are the solutions to all your problems. Stop thinking average. Become the hero version of yourself. Every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. It all matters. You've entered the No Comfort Zone. It's time for a reality check.
You know, I spend a lot of time in this podcast giving away a lot of content because I believe, in that starfish theory. Two guys walking along the beach and all these starfish. If you've heard the story, bear with me. I'm going to tell it again. There is two guys walking along the beach, and one of the younger guys is seeing all these starfish that have gotten wound up and pushed up onto the beach from a surge of waves that have come up, and all the starfish are lined up on the beach and they're all over the place. And the one little guy, the naive guy, is grabbing a starfish and he throws him back into the ocean. And the older guy, who's more mature, who knows everything, says to the younger guy, "Hey, listen, there's way too many starfish on the beach. You're not going to be able to help them all, and it's really not going to matter at the end of the day." And the little guy looks at the big guy and says, "You know what?" He throws a starfish back into the ocean. He goes, "Well, it mattered to that one." He grabs another one, mattered to that one, and it mattered to that one. And I was talking to a friend of mine about the podcast, and I'm asking about the amount of people that I see download and the amount of people that actually reach back. And I had said, it's only mattering to a few people. And I remember this from my sales training days. There's only about 3% of the people that actually take the information from a seminar that they pay a lot of money to come and see me speak, that actually take the information and reconnect after. It's like 3%. The crazy thing is, those 3% people that actually indelibly inscribe it in their mind and actually use the information on a consistent and regular basis actually outproduce almost everybody else. And the funny thing is, I think it's funny. It's ironic, actually. This podcast, I'm doing this to save that one person, to help that one person, because I know it's going to make a difference where that one person is at and the surrounding people around them. It's going to make a difference for their employees, for their family, for their children, and it does make an impact. So one of the reasons that I do this is just that's my purpose. That's why I'm here. So if you like this podcast, share it with somebody. I appreciate that. Somebody actually got this podcast. Somebody shared it with them, and they fed back to me that they were given this podcast by somebody else. And it was kind of cool to receive that. And that's where the story of the starfish came up, that, it's kind of cool that one person did come back out of, this is like, I think it's 970 daily downloads is what I'm seeing, which is kind of amazing. So I appreciate it. And thanks to FeedSpot, you promoted me a little bit more. So we're ranking in the top 5 of the top motivational podcast for men on their list of 100. We rank number 5 on that. So that's pretty cool. But let's get into this podcast. So, high octane is what I mentioned in the beginning. So I'm going to do my best to keep this going. And I'm referencing a few books because my drive to and from work, it's an hour one way. So rather than listening to XM or other podcasts, I listen to audiobooks. My favorite app is Audible. And I started promoting it in this podcast. You can download it. And the reason I do that is because there's so many good books out there that contribute to my no comfort zone blueprint. And there's so many good authors out there. And listen, there's a space out there. If you're looking for self-development, personal growth, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's like brushing your teeth. The more you do it, the better off you'll be. If you brush your teeth 2 or 3 times a day, it's not a bad thing. And I've always been attracted to this space. Unfortunately, even though having the knowledge, I didn't apply myself. Just like this, we're talking about the 4 E's and we're on excitement. And what I wanted to bring to the table was, if you're not applying it and failing, you're not going to gain the wisdom. And that's where it's at. You need to get the wisdom. You need to do practical application. You need to apply this stuff in your life to get the most out of this. I read and listen to books. I do both. So what I want you to do is I want you to consume this information and I want you to go try it and I want you to fail. And I want you to fail. Then I want you to apply those principles, become very self-aware of what's going on. I want you to identify where you failed. I want you to decide how you're going to reapproach it. What's the lesson learned? How can you reapproach this? And I want you to apply more action. And then I want you to revisit your goals. Because quite frankly, the most exciting thing is for somebody when they live an accomplishment in their goals. And if you've tried to achieve goals and you failed, good for you. But if you've never had any goals and you've never even tried, you're not living a life. You've got to get out there and try. So what gets me excited is after failure is small wins. That really gets me connected. So I'll get back on track here with the podcast. There's a couple books that I want to reference here, and I'll put the links in the description of the podcast. But check this out. Today's episode, the podcast is actually called Excitement, the spark that ignites your passion, your purpose, and progress. Remember, the journey is the key. It's not the end goal. It's the journey where the reward is. Why excitement is the missing ingredient in your goals and how to reignite it today. I'm going to reference the book, The Power of One More. The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. He is a New York Times bestseller. He brings massive intensity to goal setting and excitement based on momentum. That is the key, momentum. When I talk about momentum, I'm talking about having a small win. Intention the night before, writing out what you're going to do. A small win is getting up on time. A small win is being at the sink brushing your teeth when you say you will. A small win is drinking that 32 ounces of water first thing in the morning. A small win is being at the treadmill when you say you're going to be there. A small win is getting outside, getting some daylight, going for a walk first thing in the morning. A small win is writing out those goals. Whatever your success plan is, and if you don't have one, I can send you one. What's the best way to start your day? Doing 25 jumping jacks if you're extremely overweight could be a huge win for you. I don't want to minimize that and say that. Here's a great quote. The secret to success, this is from Ed Mylett, the secret to success is doing the things that you're excited about one more time, one more day, one more opportunity. Think about that. Win. What's important right now that you're good at? Do it, and then do it again, 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 and then do it again. Just keep going after it. Excitement makes you chase excellence, not just from avoiding failure. Going back to the Tony Robbins days, I'm telling you that if you're avoiding pain all the time and not going for pleasure, life becomes pretty dull. What gets you excited? If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? Well, stop for a moment. Everyone says that, but how do you do practical application in the No Comfort Zone Blueprint? If I knew I couldn't fail, what would I do? Well, I would become a published author. I would own a publishing company. If I knew I couldn't fail. Well, you just can't go out and just do that. What do you have to do? You have to have small wins. So what if I control my diet and exercise? That's a path. What if I actually spoke about the book I'm going to write? What if I got talking points and met with people and find out what's important to them so I can write the right book? What if I actually got some feedback on what's working and what's not? What if I actually found some really good quotes so I can put that in my book? What if I got additional feedback by doing consumer research on what's important in those spaces? What if I actually got on social media and found out what people's pain points are so I can actually write that book? And what if I talk to people who have written books that haven't published them and they gave them to me? This is all a reality that's happening for me now. Humming and Bumble is the name of the publishing company that I currently own. And I've got authors that have given me their books that I'm going to be publishing here. Is that a goal? No, that's a reality. That's actually happening. It's been a long time coming. So Humming and Bumble is a real thing. And there's a few books of mine that are coming out, as I've talked about in this podcast. But there's also other authors have given me their books to publish. It's an exciting time, but it just doesn't start out by, oh, I want to do this and not fail. The pleasure is that's something that I want to do if I knew I couldn't fail. Whoever thought that? If you knew me in high school, you'd be like, what? This guy could never be an author. Yeah, also getting up at 5 a.m. was the most impossible thing for me at one point. Now it's something that's a reality. Kind of get where I'm going with this? Mel Robbins, in her book, The High Five Habit, what's really important on this book is actually self-celebration and creating excitement from within. There's no external validation. Listen, when you get up at 5 a.m., you don't need a bunch of people cheering you on saying, hey, congratulations. Her quote is, you are one high five away from changing your whole mood, your whole day, your whole life. This whole thing about having everyone on the outside telling you how you should live your life, how you should feel, how you should be. I said in the last podcast, am I winning because I want everyone else to see me as a winner? Define what winning is for you. To define what define what success is for you. And some people, it might be sex. But define what success is for you. Truly, what is it for you? Write it down on a sheet of paper. I define success as loving my family and making sure that they're happy. That's important to me. That everyone's taken care of. That's important to me as a man. I got to make sure my family's taken care of and their needs are met. It's very important to me. I'm not looking for their validation at this point, but I do want to make sure that they're taken care of. And in the end, I believe that they're going to love me for that. Now, that might not be the case, and I am looking for a little bit of validation for that because I am a man in doing that. But I have to tell you, if I know that I am doing my absolute best when no one's watching and I'm taking care of my family, that is success for me. Do I have to have the $1 million, $2 million home? No, I don't have to have that. But there's certain things that are nice to have along the way. There are certain validating points for me that I have to have for me. And they'll appreciate it along the way, if you know what I mean. I hope you do know what I mean. Because I believe there's trophies for success along the way. It's super important. Excitement is built, not found. So important you know that. Excitement is built from within. It's not found. Something's not going to make you excited. You have to get it internally. When you celebrate your small wins, you generate internal excitement for growth. Excitement fuels confidence. Confidence fuels risk-taking. And risk-taking fuels breakthrough. Excitement fuels confidence. I lacked confidence, and a lot of you out there do too, from what I know. You lack confidence for what reason? There's so many things that happen to us in life. We become risk adverse. We get pounded into mediocrity. We get pounded into average. Tell me your story. Hit me up, Dan at the No Comfort Zone, about what happened to you. Why did you stop taking risk? Because my wife this, because my boss that, because my upbringing this. What are all the excuses that you stopped living your life and you got pounded into average? I would like to share with you the reason that stops most people from achieving any level of success. Most people in life stop achieving any level of success because of this. And you know what I'm talking about. I don't feel like. Oh my God, if you can get that out of your vocabulary, I don't feel like. Because if you only did stuff when you feel like, man, that's the reason why people are successful, because they do the things when they don't feel like and they continue to do it consistently. And they enjoy the process. I'm going to tell you what, one of the hardest things to ever do in a lifetime is writing a book, because you have to do things when you don't feel like. Sports fans, believe it or not, I don't always feel like doing the podcast. As you know from my past, I wasn't very consistent in doing it. Other things took priority. I am making this a priority. That's why there's more podcasts coming out. And in doing so, more listeners are coming to the table. I'm ranking higher. There's more people listening to it. The reviews are coming in. Better things are happening. So without excitement, your goals feel too heavy. Your vision feels dull. Your grind becomes a burden. But when you're excited, you become magnetic. If you've lost your fire today, we're going to realign it. And you get obsessed with your future again. Keep that in mind. Magnetic. The right opportunities, the right people, the right things show up when you get your excitement back. And how do you do that? Small wins. By doing the things that you know you're good at, because you know you're good at something. Let's not talk about adversity anymore. What are you good at? Write that down on a sheet of paper. Let's focus on what you're good at. If you were to do that, that might be uncomfortable for some of you. You might have to step out of your comfort zone because you're not that bad. You are worthy and you are worthwhile. You're good at some stuff. Write that down. God has given you some gifts. What are those gifts? Write them down. What are you grateful for? I can't tell you enough that if you keep focusing on all the bad stuff and why you screwed up this, that, and everything, life's going to get miserable. Let's go towards the pleasure now. Let's find the reasons to be excited. Let's find the reasons to be good. You got air in your lungs, man. It's going to be a nice day eventually. Let's get ready for that day. When you feel like doing something, man, you're not going to be ready. Here's a real life situation that I'm currently dealing with right now. You might like this. My son, golfer, lacrosse player. If you remember on one of the podcasts when he was like 5 or 6, he said he wanted to be a pro golfer. He's pursuing that path. He loves lacrosse. He's very good at it. He's getting better at it. He's not great. He's learning the sport. He loves lacrosse. He has a stick in his hand all the time. And he goes to golf lessons when he's not doing lacrosse. The crazy thing is he is talking to me. His golf game's getting better and better. But he keeps telling me, I'm really into lacrosse right now and I don't feel like golf. He's 15. That's a reality that can happen. So I'm asking him, what are we going to do about golf? I guess when golf comes around, I'll be more into it. I said, and that's the problem. Most people only do stuff when they feel like it. You got to do stuff now to focus, because how's it going to be when it's championship time and you're winning? You're going to look back at this time and go, it was worth it. But right now you didn't feel like it. You have to get up that energy, that excitement, that enthusiasm, that engagement now, because it's going to pay off later. And how are you going to feel? You have to project. How are you going to feel then? So what are you good at? You're great at driving. You need to work on certain aspects, but how's it going to feel? Let's put yourself in that. How's it going to feel? How's it going to feel to visualize winning at that moment? Let's focus on what you're good at now. And then when you're in the season, let's work on the things that you really need to work at. And when you're in training at this point, let's focus on the things that after you whacked a few and you really like driving the ball and you're good at that and you got that immediate gratification, then let's work on, getting to the green. Let's work on the things that you're having, what they call course management. Let's work on those things. And when you're done with that, let's go play lacrosse. Let's go do those things. So it's a battle. And I know that we all face that. His challenges are a lot different, but there's something else too about growing up. He had to cancel one of the sports. He had to cancel wrestling and choose this. And it was a tough decision. Now, Steve Hart's book, The Millionaire Mind, he says you should be able to have it all. And that's what millionaires do. That's what rich people do. They have it all. Unfortunately, there's only so much time in a day with school and everything else, just like in your life. Family, side hustle, your main job. There's only so much time in a day and certain things you have to choose, but you have to understand your purpose. You have to have enough energy and you have to be excited about your life. You have to choose what's exciting for you. You can't put everybody else first all of the time. You have to decide what's important for you and your family and your God and everything else. Just remember that. You have to have balance in your life. But remember, what's important for you. And when you start to write these things down and you have intention, and that's what the blueprint's for, prioritize where your life's at so you don't lose track and just realize that, hey, I have no say in this anymore, because you can get excited. As we continue on here, energy gets you moving, but excitement keeps you coming back. People don't stay consistent with boring goals. They stay consistent with meaningful, emotional, driven goals. And Ed Milet's one more principle. This is how you attach excitement to each action. One more rep, one more call, one more opportunity. This is so profound, is just doing things one more time. There's, this podcast, one more podcast, one more paragraph, one more, in sales, one more phone call, one more sit down with a salesperson. There's one more conversation with your kid before they, before they go to bed. Just the time spent, the energy spent is so important. I can't share with you enough how doing things because you feel like it is, if you keep doing that, it's going to hurt you so bad. I've had so many people get upset at me because I say, I don't care about your feelings. Go back there and do it again. I don't care how you feel right now. What's most important is the end results, because I don't care what you have involved. The only thing I care about is the result. That sounds so harsh. It sounds so terrible for me to say that. But when you're in the no comfort zone, and I live that way in certain portions of my work life, the only thing I do care about is the results. Then I want to talk about the objectives, the activities, and the certain things that you've done. Isn't that what your life's about too? Isn't that important? Because if I can get you to the results and push you and drive you, then we can get excited about the activities once we know what those activities were. You have to reverse engineer. You have to work back into it. That's why I talk about this content so much, or why I give so much of this to you. I don't want to do like there's coaching calls and things like that. I want you to sit with this and go realize, what can you do today for yourself? What can you win at? There's enough information out here for you to take it seriously, apply this information in your own personal life and say to yourself, I can do this. Do you want accountability? Sure, I can help you be accountable. But there's enough information here for you to start to achieve some success and hold yourself accountable. And if you need a partner, I'll help you. Dan@thenocomfortzone.com. Or hit me up on social and find one of the platforms. But the bottom line is this. If you wait for your feelings to kick in, you failed. You got to be able to have the discipline and the grind to do this. And in this last recent series, from cash analysis to the RPM to everything else we've been talking about the last month or so, you can find all the information here to define that adversity, what you've screwed up at, to define what you need, to work on, what information you need, and also to move forward in your life and how to apply it so you can actually find some pleasure and find some living and accomplishment in your goals. It's pretty exciting. So here's some rituals that can help you build some excitement. Grab a sheet of paper, and I want you to set an emotionally charged why behind every goal, whatever it is. If you want to lose weight, if you want to go on a diet, if you want to make more money, if you want to set a side hustle, why? Why do you want to do it? What's the reason for doing it? What's the big reason you decide you want to do that? Then what I'd like you to do is the second one, visualize daily progress. Celebrate the small wins. It's so crucial that you celebrate the small wins. We're not living the best life right now. We're not even there yet. The best life that's a while from now. You need to figure out a way for you to visualize your daily progress. You need to, number 3, surround yourself with people who talk possibilities, not problems. You need to get out of that rut. Number 4, change your language. Instead of actually talking about you have to start talking I get to. You don't got to do anything, but you get to do everything. When I did sales training a long time ago, there was a lot of people who had the mentality of, coming to work, I got to do this, I got to do that. And it was not very pleasant at all. And just changing the word, I get to do this. I get to help customers. I get to be in this industry. It's amazing how that one simple get to got or got to get can change everything. It can help you make more money, help you have more customers, help you design a great life, or it can help you get into a failure cycle. And it was lovely to experience that. I wrote a blog a long time ago, I think right before Max was born. And I ended up getting like 100,000, I got to find that article, how to change get to got, how to change I got to do this versus I get to do this. I wrote that article and I put it out there on a blog, and I got just so many people reaching for information on that. And I learned it from somebody else, and I was super happy to experience that. But I'm telling you, if you can just change your language to change your mindset and put that out there and talk, I get to do this. I get to put this out there. I get to change my goals. And you start designing your life and you start to realize there's a different way to look at things. It's amazing what can happen. And I'm telling you this, number 5, challenge yourself daily. Excitement grows in progress zones, not comfort zones. Having a comfort zone almost killed me 10 times over. But literally challenging yourself and making challenging points throughout your life traps for comfort, making yourself uncomfortable throughout the day, getting up earlier, putting the fork down, eating the right foods, challenging yourself, getting out of these different patterns, basically confusing yourself to a point where you have to get uncomfortable, and then acknowledging where you've made yourself uncomfortable, and then realizing that you're in that no comfort zone, and then anchoring it to a point where you can say, I've actually changed this about myself. And I've done it consistently. And when you realize that you're in control, you're totally in control, it's amazing what you can start to do with your life then. And it's amazing what goals you can set. There's amazing things that can happen when you start to set goals and you realize that you're actually in control. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? Would you author a book? Would you start a publishing company? Would you, move to the house that you never thought you could live in before? There's so much that you can do if you knew you couldn't fail, but you just got to take some control. You got to start to change certain things in your life. So here's the challenge and the call to action. I want to ask you some stuff. What's the one thing you've been tolerating that you no longer are excited about? And what's the one action you'll take this week to change it? DM me if you're excited. Let me know what you think. If you're fired up and there's something that you want to chase, what's the one thing that you want to go after? Tag me on Instagram at, No Comfort Zone 1 on Instagram. Listen, the quote is, excitement is my edge. Just hit me up with that. Let's see if we can get that fired up. Don't let your light dim in a dull world. You were made to move with purpose, not to survive in silence. Today's the day for you to get out of your comfort zone and live on purpose.
Say goodbye.
Want more of the No Comfort Zone? You can follow Dan on Instagram and Twitter at No Comfort Zone 1.
Bye.
Or on the web at thenocomfortzone.com.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the No Comfort Zone podcast.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.